So this is book number 1. The main message and the point is the importance of financial literacy. Can you read a financial statement? So, again, comparing my rich dad and my poor dad, the school teacher, was very word literate. I mean, he read a novel a week. He read constantly. And he used to say to me, you know, readers are leaders and leaders are readers. I said, good. And I go see my rich dad, who didn't read that much. He says, but the difference between your father and I is I can read numbers. So so Rich Dad, Poor Dad is very simply about the numbers. And this is an income, expense, assets, and liability. And that's the basis of financial literacy, financial statement. Now, the problem, and so what it is about the difference between assets and liabilities, things like this, and this is really what the book was about. You know, the thing about asset, my father would say our house is an asset, and my rich dad would say it's not, because very simply assets, according to my rich dad, asset will put money in your pocket whether you work or not. And a liability will take money from your pocket whether you work or not. That was very simply it. The important things about a financial statement is that it allows you to see the truth instead of being stymied by other people. My bankers never asked me for my report card yet, you know. And what your banker asks for is your what? Financials. Because what a banker wants to see is your financial intelligence, not your academic intelligence. And both are important. Academic intelligence is important, you know, forever. But so is financial intelligence. So what my rich dad said, your financial statement is your report card once you leave school. And the problem is 99% of the people leave school and they don't have a clue what a financial statement is, much less what a checkbook is. You know, they know credit card, but they don't know much beyond that. And so they're easily swayed with the idea your house is an asset, and that's what gets them in trouble. They can't tell the difference between an asset and a hole in the ground. So that's the big problem there. Okay?
What do you do for personal development apart from business personal development? And what do you recommend new entrepreneurs to do for personal development?
I would say the number one reason to be an entrepreneur is not about money. The number one reason to be an entrepreneur is personal development. You know, to develop yourself to be, as the Army says, to be all you can be. Would you say that's true?
Well, yeah, I mean, as an entrepreneur, every day we're facing the unknown. We're facing problems that come up. We're facing new challenges that come up, and it's always like right in our face. And so in order to solve those problems, we've got to dig deeper. We've got to be stronger. We got to get better all the time. So personal development, I think entrepreneurship is the fast track to personal development.
And if you're not developing personally, you're not going to make it as an entrepreneur. Let me put it to you in dollar and cents. You know, there's a lot of people who can't make $1,000, and the reason they can't make $1,000 is because mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, they're not capable of making $1,000, whatever the case is. So Kim and I today are in the multi-millions of dollars in making money, but we wouldn't have gotten there because one time we were having trouble at $1,000. So every time we had a problem, we had to get bigger than the problem. For many people out there with $1,000 problem, they're not going to solve the problem until they personally develop themselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically to be bigger than $1,000 problem.
Right.
Lesson number 1. The word is fail. Okay. Most people on this side are taught that to fail is bad. That's why they're losers. Look, if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. If you don't fail, you don't succeed. So in school, they're still teaching kids, don't make mistakes. You know how stupid that is? How do you learn if you don't make a mistake? And the more mistakes you make, the smarter you get. And the reason I know that very well is my poor dad, great man, like I said, PhD. I stood for poor, helpless, and desperate. But anyway, my dad's over there. He is so terrified of making a mistake. Because that's what they teach you in school. Don't make mistakes. You ever watch a kid or a baby learning how to walk? You know, the kids crawling along. He looks up and he sees mommy and dad. He says, okay, now stand up here. And the kid stands up with this and falls down. Parents don't go over there and beat the shit out of the kid. He's stupid kid. What does the kid do? He goes, oh, I screwed up. I think I'll try it again. You know, the kid drooling. The Pampers are loaded, you know, like this. Boom, falls down. He doesn't go, oh, I'm a failure. They teach you that in school, though. See?
Team is the hardest part of the game. You know, like, that's like, okay, I'm going to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers next year. Who am I gonna put on my team? Well, my brother-in-law, who's fat and ugly. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, I should have a team. Well, you better choose your team really carefully. Or you know, my son needs a job. He's a drug dealer, but he played basketball in high school, and that's what entrepreneurs do. They don't choose their team with any kind of precision. Now, I made that mistake. You know, I brought on like friends who thought they were entrepreneurs, and they're incompetent. You know, they were terrible, and I was terrible also. The difference is when we failed in the first business, I went on. They went back to their jobs. There's a very big difference in mindset. So all I'm saying here is this: if you're going to understand this, study entrepreneurs. Like I studied Edison. You know, I studied Gates, Jobs.
And then book number 2, which is this one here, was the cash flow quadrant. Quadrant means 4. And the quadrant was the 4 people that make up the world of business. E stands for employee, S stands for self-employed, B stands for business owner, and I stands for investor. So my poor dad always said to me, you know, son, go to school and get a job. So he was programming me to come here. But I kept saying, but I want to be rich. My mother says, yeah, don't listen to your dad, you know what I mean? My mother was a nurse. And she says, if you really want to be rich, you should become a doctor. They make a lot of money. So my mother was saying become, you know, specialist, self-employed, or small business owner, independent. You know, you hear people say, if you want to be successful, get a profession. You're like, something you can fall back on. You know, become a plumber, electrician, attorney, accountant, something you can fall back on. Because these guys are the smart guys. You know, these are the people that become doctors, lawyers, accountants, and they're really the brains of the class. My rich dad said to me, you know, Robert, you make a lousy employee. You can't follow orders. You don't like sitting still. And you're not very smart. I said, right. He says, you'd be very good over here. He says, because these guys aren't that smart. And that's the truth. That's why some of the richest people on earth are over here, because they're not smart. But they know how to surround themselves with smart people. And that's one of the biggest differences. And the other part is the investor. And the investor uses a different mentality, different emotions. The investor wants their money to work for them. And their words are, what's my return on investment? How soon do I get my money back? See, most people have the money in a 401k. That's not an investment plan, it's a savings plan. An investor would not do that because it ties that money up too long. I want my money in and I want my money out. I want to know when it comes back to me. It's called velocity. How soon do I put it in? How soon does it come back? Savers put it in and they leave it there forever. It's a different value system.
So I just go work at McDonald's so I can learn even more. So I look at life as learning. I'm constantly learning. You know, I'm reading constantly, studying constantly. I spend most of my time with entrepreneurs. I don't spend my time with people who complain about the economy, you know. So nothing will really change. I just go back to being an entrepreneur.